What is going on, Bucks fans? Evan want to share back at you with yet another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today I want to do a little bit of like a just a personal opinion video. I guess I wanted to talk about the biggest questions that I have for the Buccaneers season slash training camp. But yeah, heading into training camp in the season. Training camp obviously just opened. We are in very early days of training camp, but the season will be here before you know it. So, with that being said, let's get into number one, and that is one who's going to win the quarterback battle. And sort of a side note, how will that quarterback do during the regular season? I'm not going to talk about the battle itself too much. You've heard about it so many different times now. Baker Mayfield versus Kyle Trask. Who's it going to be? This and that. We talked about this so many times, and we're going to continue to talk about it because training camp's here and they're battling it out now, right? So, my personal opinion is that regardless of who wins, I'm curious to see who that player is for one and how that player performs in the regular season because honestly, Bucks fans have been spoiled with some pretty good quarterback play over the last 3 seasons. Was Tom Brady great in 2022? Not by any means. But 2020 and 2021 were fantastic. And I think we can all agree, though, that the Buccaneers probably did downgrade a little bit when it comes to having Tom Brady, even if it was last year's Tom Brady versus having Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. So I'm very interested to see how this shakes out, how the battle shakes out itself. But then also week one, let's say it's Baker Mayfield out there. How does he do? It's going to be a brand new offense. How does Baker Mayfield do? It's a critical year for Baker Mayfield on his fourth team in a calendar year. This could be his last opportunity in the NFL to be a starting quarterback. At the same time, we talk about how critical of a year it is for Baker Mayfield. I don't know if we're talking about enough how critical of a year it is maybe for Kyle Trask though as well, because for Trask, he has to prove himself now, and it's year 3 for him. If he doesn't win the quarterback job from Baker Mayfield, we could be looking at Kyle Trask maybe having an opportunity to start next year in his 4th season for the very first time. I feel like it's now or never for Kyle Trask as well, and that's what makes this battle pretty unique. I think it's two guys that are pretty desperate to win this quarterback battle and to prove that they can still, hang in this league. Obviously, I think Trask's situation is a little bit different. He might get a shot, elsewhere, but for Mayfield, this is pretty much it for him, most likely. Number two, and this has to do with the offense as well. And I haven't seen as many people talk about this. I've seen a lot of people hype it up, and I get it. I get the wanting to be optimistic. What is this brand new offense that Dave Canales is bringing to Tampa? What is it going to look like? I've seen a lot of people have a lot of faith in Dave Canales, and I get it. A lot of people seem to think that this offense is going to be rolling and it's going to be a modern new offense and it's going to be all great. And Dave Canales is going to be a good hire. And I completely get the optimism. It happens with a lot of new hires. However, we don't have much evidence of what Dave Canales' offense will actually look like. You can take ideas, I think, from Seattle, but he was the quarterbacks coach in Seattle. He wasn't the offensive coordinator. He wasn't the play caller. He wasn't installing the game plan each and every week. So I'm very curious to see with Dave Canales now. It is just him. He has the full reins. I'm curious to see what a Dave Canales offense looks like, even in the preseason. Like, I'm curious to see what they experiment with, how they do certain things. It could be a breath of fresh air and something that we haven't seen in Tampa maybe ever, depending on how the offensive scheme is, whether it's a new sort of Sean McVay type coaching tree. That's sort of where he comes from, that type of coaching tree. And it's going to be very interesting to me to see how Dave Canales performs. It could be good. It could be bad. It's a first year play caller in the NFL, first year offensive coordinator, and they're putting a lot of faith in Dave Canales. And he said all the right things. He has said all the right things. However, actions speak louder than words. So we have to see it. We have to see the production on the field. We have to see the plays working, the game plans working, the offensive play calls, the right calls at the right times. I think we need to see that. And obviously with Byron Leftwich, you really didn't, especially in 2022. You definitely didn't see it. But with Dave Canales now here, a lot of people are really excited for Dave Canales. And I'm intrigued by Dave Canales. Let's put it that way. So I'm very curious to see what his offense is going to look like and how it's going to help certain players. Like, what does Mike Evans look like in a different style offense? What does Chris Godwin look like, or a guy like Rashad White even look like in a Dave Canales offense, whatever that may look like. So very curious to see that as well. Another question is, how are they going to get sacks? Like, how are they gonna get sacks? Shaq Barrett, love Shaq Barrett. He's coming off a major injury. He's getting up there in age. Just had a tragic thing happen to him in the offseason with the death of his daughter. That's awful. It is just awful. Can you count on him to be the player that he was before the injury? I don't know. He's been through a lot since then. It's been through a lot, and I just don't know if you can count on him to do that. So if you're looking at other options, you got Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who got 4 sacks in his rookie season. Good. He was in a rotation role. That was good. Got 4 sacks in his second season, though, and he was a full-time starter. The team let go of Jason Pierre-Paul and wanted Joe Tryon-Shoyinka to sort of step right into that role. And I wouldn't say he was bad. I just don't know if he was particularly that great. So I do think that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has potential still. I'm not out on Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, but he needs to prove it. And there's another year, just like we talk about Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, critical year for JTS as well, I think. So the Buccaneers have to decide on whether they're going to decline or accept his fifth year option after this season. So it's a critical year for JTS, and we'll see if he can step up because if he doesn't, I don't know where the sacks are going to come from. You have Anthony Nelson, who they re signed, not really like a real big sack guy. Yaya Diaby's a rookie. I'm not sure where the sack production is going to come from if those guys like Shaq Barrett and JTS can't step up. And the final question, I think a lot of people are going to have this question, but will Todd Bowles be on the hot seat? I will he be on the hot seat? It's interesting and something you can't really answer right now. I at least I don't think. I think when the season starts, depending on how the team looks, sure. Do I think his seat could be a little warm right now? Like meaning, like he's not obviously going to lose his job now, but a little warm, like yeah, he's probably got to win a certain amount of games to keep his job, unlike last year where it's like, yeah, he's obviously safe. Yeah, I do think that maybe. I think there's definitely something in the Glazers' mind and Jason Light's mind that yes, he has to reach some sort of some sort of benchmark to be able to have confidence in him. I mean, he went 8-9 with Tom Brady. What's he going to be without Tom Brady? And that's the tough thing. Might just be a good defensive coordinator, and sometimes that happens with guys, and that's a big question for me. Will he be on the hot seat? The Glazers have never fired a head coach midseason, so I really wouldn't expect that. For a lot of Bucs fans that are a little bit pessimistic about the team, think the team's not going to be that good. I wouldn't expect them to fire Todd Bowles midseason, even if they weren't that good. I think things would have to be super, super bad for that to happen. I don't foresee that, but wouldn't shock me if Todd Bowles by December. So you start hearing some rumblings like, hey, Bowles' job might not be safe, depending on how things go, of course. They still could have a shot to make the playoffs. They really could. I mean, the NFC South is the NFC South. It's a lot of unproven guys. Atlanta's unproven. New Orleans is okay. Carolina is pretty unproven. So the NFC South could be open. And the Buccaneers play a lot of teams this year that have a lot of unproven guys. Jordan Love, they're playing with the Packers. They're playing the Texans. They're playing the Titans. Like I said, they play each team in the NFC South twice. They play the Colts. So they're going to be playing a lot of unproven quarterbacks, and maybe they take advantage of that. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Bowles is going to be fired or be on the hot seat. I know some of you guys do. I get it. I get being pessimistic in that sense. I just think there's too much talent on this team for things to go downhill that much. Doesn't mean Todd Bowles won't be fired at the end of the season. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how many wins he needs to keep his job, but that's a big question for me. Will Todd Bowles be on the hot seat or will he be fired come the end of the season? And what type of situation could the Bucs be heading into in the 2024 offseason? Because it's could be very interesting. I'm excited for the season though. Looking forward to it. But obviously you're gonna have questions. So I want to hear your guys' questions. I did this video partially to share my opinion, but also because I wanted to get feedback from you guys. I want to hear the questions that you guys have for the team this coming season. What are you looking out for? What are you excited for? What are you most looking forward to? What are you trying to keep an eye on? Like, oh, a little bit concerned about that. Really excited about this. Just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And talk soon.